Hello, I'm Jordan Bassett. You're watching NME. We're here with the Prodigy.
Hello.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, brand new, thanks.
So, No Tourists. To start off, how would you sum up this album in a few words?
It's an album that incorporates everything, every sound and every angle we've been about over the years from the beginning. Like, we weren't afraid to stamp our authority back on the rave kind of, first rave kind of sound, and bring that to what the kind of more violent sound of what we're doing now.
Yes. Yeah, because it's such a heavy album, isn't it?
I think the last album was kind of more, it felt more, that felt like it was really like on the edge, do you know what I mean? This one is doing it in a different way. It feels like it's got more swagger or something in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's my view on it anyway.
More swagger, how does that ring true to you guys, and how do you define that?
Well, I don't know. I think the last... Yeah, actually, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Yeah.
I really want to know what you're going to say now.
No. It was too much summary, and it's not that thought about. But I mean, obviously, when you're doing the interviews, you're always bringing up, thoughts and thinking about things like you've never thought about them before. Yeah. But I think I agree with Liam. It's all the good bits.
This album seems to be. It's just raw. Do you know what I mean? It's more direct. It's just right up front. It's in your face.
Yeah.
And I think that the whole process. What the band been through, the album, Liam producing it, and taking, not going into the studio and having someone else involved in the mix stage of it.
I think people always are trying to do kind of some kind of rave revival, and it always comes across as if it's kind of this happy kind of sound.
Right.
And so we wanted to kind of, show the more sort of like, because when we got into it, it was kind of like East London sort of pirate radio, kind of really raw and dangerous, kind of gritty sort of sound, and that's what really inspired some of the tracks on this record. Just not being afraid to go back to that kind of first era of the Prodigy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A lot of people, as their career progresses and they put a lot of records, kind of mellow out. I feel like you've gone in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. It feels like that. I mean, I feel like that as a person, probably.
Well, you think you're sort of less mellow now?
I don't think I've ever been mellow. I really don't. No, I don't sit there thinking about myself. But like what Keith says, when people are talking to you, asking questions, and they ask you about yourself, that's the time when you go, yeah. Am I angry? I don't think I'm angry, but I must be. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
but I'm not angry. I don't walk along the street. I'm not angry about certain issues or things. I just carry that in me, do you know what I mean? But I like music that wakes me up. I like music that has tension, do you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I've always been attracted to, do you know what I mean?
I think if ever I brought an album like back in the day, or I'd always be, always gravitate to like track 4 and 7, for instance, that were the more upfront tracks that sort of shook me and moved me, and were calling out to be put on repeat, and then I'd get into the rest of the album and discover the other elements to it,
and the subtleties,
and see why that album was like put together and why it worked. And I suppose because ultimately the outlet is stage.
So when you play like the older stuff now, like to me that sounds like, when it's live, it sounds like beefed up even more than it was originally. Yeah, it's kind of remixed, because it's kind of like when I think all the old tracks we get, you got kind of bored of playing them otherwise, unless you kind of add new things to them and kind of bring them up to the standard of the other ones, but that's just more for us, because you can imagine playing Firestarter 300 or 500 times. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's got to change at some point just to be fresh, Well, like on that note, I mean, when you played your first gig, which was at the Four Aces in Dalston, did you think that, and that was in 1990?
Yeah.
Did you think that like 28 years later we'd be sat here talking about your seventh album? You did?
Oh yeah. No, do you know what I mean? It's like we didn't know. I gave my job up for that gig,
Really?
Yeah. Just because you want to throw yourself into it. Do you know what I mean? And we didn't think it was going to last a couple of months. But I don't know, when you find something you do, you just get on with it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you remember how much money you made from that show?
100 quid.
100 quid, yeah.
Between
us,
Yeah.
Wow, and you gave it your job.
I think no, that's combined with the combined with the 200 quid record deal I got.
Right.
No, you just when you find something you like doing and you think you can do, you just carry on doing it. I mean, the time aspect always amazes me when people say it's that long ago, because it feels like fucking 10 years ago.
Right.
The first gig, do you know what I mean? It was literally looking forward to the next gig, and then literally looking forward to the gig after that, and then we had a gig in Italy, and was like, well, I'm playing in Italy. Do you know?
Yeah.
Then it was, and it's exactly the same today. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Great,
looking forward to 9 months. It's just looking forward to doing the tour.
Right, yeah.
Time just goes so quick.
Well, I suppose the reason, going back to those early days and thinking about it compared to now, the reason that a lot of people think that, you've been around nearly 30 years, you're going to sort of mellowed out a bit, is that you don't have anything to prove anymore, you got your success, you made a great living out of it. So where does it come from, do you think, the desire to continue?
Because we never look for success, do you know what I mean? I think we just kind of always were hungry for it, do you know what I mean? It's and it won't stop because it's not a job for us, it's just what we do, I go in the studio to write beats because I still love it when I'm not doing any albums or anything, I do it in any time, because it's just because I love it. And I don't think you can stop that, because there was no agenda, do you know what I mean? It's we weren't trying to be successful, we were just trying to do our job. And so it's kind of yeah, of course you earn money and whatever, but it's kind of that's a byproduct of it all. Do you know what I mean?
We didn't get into it for that, do you know? We didn't get into it for the so-called success of it.
Right.
And then we got into it because we loved doing it.
I don't remember much over the first half of the band, because it's such a whirlwind. Do you know what I mean? It was pretty crazy. I don't think I appreciated it either. Do you know what I mean? It was just it happened so quick, and people don't realise we didn't go from experience to Firestarter. It was building all the time. It was every record, every single, the album in between. It was all elevating. Do you know what I mean? So even when it hit, we weren't going, oh my God. It was just we just took it all in a stride and just got on with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but when it builds like that, you kind of, I guess you almost don't notice it as
no,
much.
we didn't notice it because we were inside it, and we still don't, because none of us really we don't really read the press or read anything about us ever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, we don't. I mean, I sometimes answer people's comments on Instagram if I get pissed off of them. Do you know what I mean?
But outside forces has nothing to do with the inside energy we have. Do you know what I mean? It's what people say outside and people's points of view has no effect on.
I imagine that's probably quite.
But it's kind of every time you go into or I go into the studio, it only gets written, it only comes out if it feels like it's got the fire still. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if it hasn't, that's when we finish. Do you know what I mean? And that could have happened. This album could have happened. The last album, it just had. This album got written really quickly for some reason, just because I was really, I don't know, I just found a really good zone. Yeah, this record come out sooner than previous records. I think it was 3 years ago, or whatever. But
because that's quite unusual for you. Cause
it is unusual, yeah. I just really dived into it and just really found a good headspace. Plus, as well, I mixed it myself, so I was doing it as I was going along. So I didn't have that ball ache of sitting in a big studio at the end, fucking about with big mixing desks and that nonsense.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just did it really DIY. Do you know what I mean? We recorded vocals in hotel rooms as we were touring around. I set up a studio in Moscow in a hotel room, and we used it as a base. And I kept my room there while we went to St. Petersburg and flew back. And so I think there was 3 days off and more days off as we were going around. And that was a good, just keeping it really loose, and so you didn't have this pressure we're recording vocals next week, you've got to come in. Because this can be too much sometimes, and it should be really it should be easy, because it should be just
relaxed.
Yeah, just this is the idea, what we got, this has got to be like this,
So is this the first time you've written and recorded on tour?
Like this series, in this intensity, yeah. I've done it before, but I don't think we ever did vocals on tour, did we?
No.
No, we just, you know, messing about, but this is really like, because I wanted to get it done. I had this real urgency of just wanting to just nail it.
Yeah.
I was excited about it, you know. Before, it's kind of like the last album, it was almost like I'd run out of steam halfway through.
Right,
I had to have a break and then come back to it. But this one, I just powered through, man. And just each track kind of fed the other. And then all of a sudden, 10 tracks were done. It was like, yeah, we've got an album. It's fucking good.
So you never were like, oh, we've got to put an album out for...
No, I wanted to just do EPs. After the last record, I was like, let's just do EPs now, because I don't really... It's a pain in the arse, like sitting around waiting for me to be inspired. You know, it might happen this year, it might happen next year, I don't know, do you know what I mean? But so that was the plan. I was just gonna do 3-track EPs, drop them out, and then see what happened.
That's like what Aphex Twin does at the moment. Just
like
put stuff out whenever.
Yeah, which is fair enough, but like I still believe in that was the original plan, and then of course like this album got finished and delivered, and then you kind of go, well actually yeah, an album kind of really puts its stamp on that year and is something that, because we still live by that old school kind of thing that we hope people still buy an album and have it.
Yeah.
The fans do anyway, do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like you listen to it from start to finish. Of course people don't fucking do that anymore, but you kind of have to make it like that still, I think.
Yeah.
I think bands still want to do that, you know.
Did it, from your guys' perspective, did it feel different for you this time around as well?
I mean, every recording process is different. You know, it always finds its own way. But yeah, I mean, it was quick. It was breezy. There was ideas flying around, you know, all the time. And yeah, it felt like it was on a good flow. And a couple of tracks went into the set. You know, that obviously put new energy into the set. And then and obviously, you know, you get really excited and, you know, buzzed up about what's to come, and you know, and yeah, again, what Liam's saying there, you know, just sort of, you know, Liam hit me up saying, I'm going to take a mic to the show tomorrow, can you do a couple of bits on this and send me the idea and talk about the idea, you know, briefly, you know, and then we'd get to the hotel, throw it down, and yeah, it was good, it worked. But if for instance, let's say the next album, which fuck knows, fuck who, where, why, but you know, let's say the next album, if we went, right, let's do that hotel recording thing, it would fuck up.
It wouldn't work.
It would never work.
Yeah.
We'd have to do something different.
Yeah, it's like the recording process, you never learn what the best way is, and it kind of like, you don't really want to learn because you want it to be spontaneous, do you know what I mean? It's like, I tend to rebel against myself anyway, so
that's the beauty about it, do you know what I mean? It's not to overthink it, do you know what I mean? Just, you know, not to overthink anything and just go with the flow and go with the vibe, do you know what I mean? And
just, you know that, you know, obviously speaking for myself, when you're putting a vocal down, it's just creating a noise or a sound for Liam to work with.
When you like tour and, you know, perform live now, like how did you prepare for it? Is it different now than it was when you first started out?
Man. No, we did. You know, of course we got new songs to rehearse or whatever off the new album, but like, really, there's no rituals or preparation. You know, we will probably rehearse a couple of weeks before, you know, to make sure we know.
But even that is like that'll just be like a soundproof room.
We keep it spontaneous.
Run through the ideas, check that, you know, you're dropping the lyrics in the right place and it's all, you know, it's all working. And then, but really, when you do it for the real time is your first gig. You know, there's no dress rehearsal. You know, there's no lights. There's no.
The reason why is because it always whatever preparation you do, it all sounds different on stage.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
It's always been spontaneous. Do you know what I mean? And you know, there was a time we tried to rehearse. And we said, yeah, we should. And we're like, we sat down. I thought, what are we doing?
When was that?
It never happened.
Fucking
do you know what I mean?
years ago.
It never happened. Do you know what I mean?
It didn't actually happen at all.
It didn't happen. You know, so it's not really a rehearsal. It's just to listen to the sound and hear the tunes, how they're going to bang on stage.
You just can't
do you know what
prepare for how different it sounds on stage. That's the thing, isn't it? Even if you're in a loud rehearsal studio, it just don't sound the same.
A track on stage in front of everyone is like getting caught in a rip in the sea. If you're paddling away and you're not aware, you get caught in that rip. You're fucking out deep, and you are sending flares up to saying "fucking help me" because I'm out of my depth. Has
that ever happened?
More than 20 times.
Really?
Yeah. I've been doing it a while.
Right. Yeah, I mean, 20's not bad, right?
Keith's one of these people that can easily sail through that, though. Do you know what I mean?
I find my way.
To navigate it.
It sounds as if even after all this time, you still haven't kind of really figured out how it works, and that's part of it.
That's right, man. That is it.
In a way, the funny thing is that it to us it's so natural and so.
Yeah.
And I say simplistic. I mean, we're on one hand, you don't want to ignore the integrity and the belief and the passion and the desire and the love for it. But in a way, it's so fucking simple. There's almost nothing to it, other than what you see.
Yeah.
So you understand, if you've been to see it, you understand it as well as I'll speak for myself here, but as well as I do.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's as simple as what you see there.
Yeah. Well, like on that, like, you know, Jilted Generation was it was kind of thematically about the criminal justice act. Yeah. Is there a unifying theme to No Tourists?
Well, you know, apart from the title, we kind of we like the idea of like, people have been drawn into, get easily sucked into a way of thinking, and everyone's guilty of it, you know, and those are the tourists, you know what I mean? And to step off the path and kind of find another way. It's about exploring an escapism still, you know, because we are an escapism band, you know. We've never been political, even though kind of you kind of bump into things along the way. Do you know what I mean? We don't want politics in music, you know. For us, it don't work.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because I was going to ask about there's a lyric on Champions of London where you go like civil unrest, grab your bulletproof vest. And I wondered if that's just like an evocative line that creates a mood, or if it means something specific.
That does mean something. It's talking about territories in London or any city when borders of different territories, different areas come together, and people crossing over those borders.
Right.
And just, you know, because there's a lot of, you know, I live in London, and there's just a lot of tension, and that track is about that. Do you know what I mean? That's what that track is about.
And so there's a couple of features on the record as well. Horror on there. Like how did that come about?
Maxim saw him play live few years back, and told me about them when they first come out, and I just got in touch with them because they speaking the same language as me, you know, and I just kind of liked the fact that in America most hip hop tend to follow each other. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the hip music sounds similar, the production and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And they seem to be just doing something different, you know. And
they were doing something. When I saw them, Joe, I saw them at Afro Punk in Alexander Palace. Do you know what I mean? And I just saw them, and I just saw something in them what we do. You know, something similar. You know, in their performance, and yeah, man. Do you know what I mean? I just loved it. Do you know what I mean? I went and checked them out online. Do you know what I mean? But you know, I hit Liam up and said, "Oh man, you heard of Horror?" Do you know, and that's how I linked up with it. But
basically, like when I did the track, I mean, I think originally it was talked about it was for them. You know, I did it for their album, and then basically a bit of arguing and persuasion, and I kind of said our album instead. So everyone was happy in the end. Do you know what I mean?
Barnes Courtney is also.
Yeah, Barnes was basically, my friend was producing his album, or producing some tracks on his album, and I heard his voice. It was literally this simple, and I said, "Oh, who's that?" And I was working on a track that Keith was on, and it's like when I hear a sample, I just heard his voice, I wrote some lyrics, said I'll get him to sing those for us, and he literally tagged it onto the end of one of his sessions and said, "Okay, he's done those lyrics well." Oh, okay, cool. See if it works. Bang. And that's how it happened. It worked.
But it's funny. It's like you see Barnes Courtney credit in a song, you know that what his stuff sounds like, and it's sort of like soft and.
The stuff that my mate did isn't soft.
Right. Okay.
It's noisy.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe he's like quite eclectic.
Yeah. The album he did, but I kind of it's kind of more like a backing vocal, I think.
Yeah.
And same thing, because I never think of vocals as performances. I think of them as sounds.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of hear it. Do you know what I mean? So it was like his voice is quite high, and it just worked really well with Keith's, and his is kind of backing that up. So that kind of worked, and basically I didn't overthink it.
Yeah.
You know.
Like looking back at sort of around Fatland and all that kind of era, like from the outside it looked like it was very like hedonistic and crazy. Was it like the way it looked when you were there? Yeah, it was a mad time in the 90s. You're talking about the 90s? Yeah, it was a mad time, but I mean that mad time sort of extended well into the 2000s. Do you know what I mean? Well, the reason I ask this is it's kind of interesting, like comparing the current generation of young people to the previous generation. Like, every year they do another study that finds out that like young people now don't drink, don't take drugs, don't go clubbing. Yeah. Like the way that they did in like the 90s. And I just wonder, like, what do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I think it seemed much more sort of hedonistic times back then than it is now.
Do you think they're missing out on anything because of like?
Nah, probably not, because the drugs seem like they kill people more these days.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Obviously this generation, they've got their buzz. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it is,
Yeah.
Every generation has their thing. Do you know what I mean? It'd be just like us saying to this generation, "Oh, you missed out on so and so." Right. It would be like the '60s generation saying it to us.
Yeah.
You missed out. Everybody had their buzz. They've got their buzz. We had our buzz then, and doing whatever we did. And this time they've got their thing, whatever it is. So
it's interesting because there's always been this idea that like excess and creativity kind of go hand in hand. So it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. Yeah. Now,
I mean, music is kind of like it seems to me like I've got a 14-year-old son, and the way he accesses music is so different to obviously to the way we used to. It seems to become so almost secondary in a way. Do you know what I mean? And it's the live stuff that keeps it there. That's the pure form of connecting with people, not through the other ways, because it seems like it's just a soundtrack to games or films or shit like that, And I reckon, if you turn that off, people would realise the value of it again still.
Like, was the excess and the creativity, was there actually a link there for you, do you think?
Back in the day?
Back in the day, was that important?
So right at the beginning there was, because we came out of, I'm talking about myself here, but like, came out of the rave culture where it was drug fueled.
Yeah.
But soon as we dived into the band and that started to roll, that obviously I wasn't going out so much, I was doing the band, and that kind of just took over. But we've seen many casualties along the way, do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It worked for me at the beginning.
I'm sort of skipping about a bit now, but like this whole thing about this generation don't like go out as much. Actually, weirdly, ironically, there's a kind of a cult thing of like the illegal rave is back. There's like loads of like numbers of kids like start having parties in fields and like abandoned warehouses and stuff.
I hope so.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, you think that's sort of like a good sign?
If he's pushing forward, man, if he's some retro sort of revival thing, then forget it. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of, if people can bring some kind of new thing to it, a new angle, then that's great. You know what I mean? I'm into that.
I think it's kind of like a reaction to going out clubbing now is very sort of sanitized.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I think that will eventually come round, won't it? Do you know what I mean? Because obviously there was a time where, obviously before around your generation where everything went back into the clubs. It's going to overspill, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be a time when people are just it's too sanitized, and people are in clubs and they just think, I want to break out of this and want something a bit more dangerous, a bit more accessible and a bit more fun. So I think it just goes. It goes waves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think maybe now is the time that something fresh has to happen.
There was something. It was a couple of years ago now, but like near where I live, up in Belsize Park, like there was a rave on the Heath, right in the middle, the dip, right in the middle, and I'm always up there, walking about or whatever, and they'll just see some kids like at 7 a.m, and loads of people about. And what the fuck's going on? And there was a party that busted in the middle of the Heath,
It does go on actually, because where I live, do you know what I mean, in Essex, is right on the, you know, on the river, going towards another village. Do you know what I mean? Apparently, like, kids gather on this, and do you know what I mean? There's a little bank, and they bring in a little sound system and whatever, and it just goes off.
Yeah.
Every couple of weeks, something's going off down the river.
Great.
Do you know what I mean?
So you're going back on tour next month?
Yeah, November, yeah.
November. So it's the UK and Europe. So like what? So we're talking about someone that's never been to a Prodigy show before. Like what's going to happen?
Well, you know, we care about it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, we try not to make it the same. You know, we want to make it different to what people have seen last time. You know, bring the album artwork to life. You know, and come into that and see that. You know,
See the band in the purest form. Yeah. You know, because you might see the videos, you might see, but that's not the true Prodigy. Do you know what I mean? The only way to see the Prodigy is to come to a show.
That's great. Well, you heard it here first. I've been Jordan Bassett. I've been the Prodigy. Thanks for watching.